Hey everyone, I have for you this tutorial a beautiful wine themed wreath. I'm thinking this wreath would be so awesome to place on a front door if you're having guests to your home for the evening. Also, I think it would be fabulous to place on a kitchen wall or in a dining room area or a bar area where you gather with friends. I love this one. It's unique and colorful and welcoming. Welcome to my current subscribers and to all visiting my channel today. I hope you will consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and leave your comments. I love receiving them. Okay, let's get busy creating this beautiful wine-themed wreath. Let's look at the items that we will need to create this wreath. I have here a tin sign that I purchased on Amazon. I'll put that in the description box. But also they have other signs of the same nature without the gnome on it. So if you'd like to do a wreath like this, but maybe you don't necessarily want the gnome theme, they have other really great signs on Amazon. I purchased this poly check Deco mesh on Amazon, and I will put that in the description box as well. This is a very sturdy Deco mesh, and it creates a very beautiful wreath. I have here 3 different ribbons. I'm going to be making a triple ribbon bow to go on this black and red wreath. I have here a red burlap, which I purchased on Amazon. Again, I'll put it in the description box. I believe I got that buffalo check one on craftoutlet.com, as well as that black and white striped ribbon. This is a beautiful combination for a bow. I purchased these 2 wine glasses. They're rather lightweight. I purchased those at Dollar Tree. I have here some faux grapes. Now, if you were going to make a wine-themed wreath, these would look beautiful on a wreath. Not necessarily on the black and red. I didn't end up using those. But just so you know, I purchased those at Hobby Lobby, and they also look great on a wine-themed wreath. I have here wire cutters, glue sticks, scissors, and black pipe cleaners that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. We're going to be cutting our pieces of Deco mesh in 8-inch sections. I don't want 10-inch sections because I think that's just a little bit too big for this wreath frame. I'm going to be using black pipe cleaners to create my bundles. When I scrunch these pieces of Deco mesh, this time I'm going to keep the raw edges on the side, and I scrunch right up the middle with my fingertips to create my bundles. Now initially I was just going to do each bundle in black and red, but I decided that I wanted more red on the wreath than black. So you'll see here in just a minute, I changed my mind about the bundles and decided to use 2 red pieces and 1 black piece per bundle. And again, that's in 8-inch sections. You're going to have fraying with this Deco mesh, but I'm going to show you in a bit how to manage that. It's not the same kind of fraying that you have with, say, for example, Dollar Tree Deco mesh. This is a thicker, much thicker Deco mesh, so the pieces are going to be much thicker and a little bit easier to manage when you go to defray. Is that a word? Defray your wreath in the end. I think I just made up another word. Okay, so here we have the 2 red and one black. Now I'm going to sandwich, you'll see that I did there. I'm going to sandwich my black piece in between my two red. Now along the way, you'll have the urge to get rid of those fraying pieces, which I did as well, but I went around in the end and just cleaned everything up. And once I did that, I'll show you later, you won't have any more fraying on the wreath itself. But once you stop handling the wreath, it will stop fraying as well. It's just the handling that enhances that fraying. Now I'm going to be placing these bundles on my wreath frame by the pipe cleaners, just as I always do. This wreath took 26 bundles. I did have some of that Deco mesh left over because it's a very hardy Deco mesh. It takes up more space per bundle than, say, for example, a Dollar Tree Deco mesh. So you only need 26 bundles. I'm going to create a very beautiful bow for this wreath with these 3 ribbons. Again, the buffalo check and the striped, I'm rather sure I got those on craftoutlet.com. They have very beautiful ribbons. And this is a very, very nice quality ribbon. It's a cloth ribbon with wired edges, of course, 2.5 inch. I'm going to be creating the base of my bow. Here, I'm going to create 2 loops on each side. Each of those loops is approximately 10 inches long if you want to measure it out. I do have bow tutorials, which I will list in the description box, and I have one specifically for a triple ribbon bow. Again, this is going to be the base of my bow. It's going to go right up against the Deco mesh. Absolutely love mixing my patterns. Any of you who are my subscribers, you know this about me. I generally mix my ribbon patterns to create my bows. I think it's just a beautiful look. Adds a lot of visual interest to the piece. So this is going to be the base, as I said. Going to be angling my tails, which I'll do later. I'm going to be placing my red sandwiched right in the middle of that bow. And this one I'm going to do exactly the same as the base. 10-inch loops, 3 loops on each side, 6 loops altogether. I use the fold over, pinch in the middle loop method. If you're not familiar how to make this bow, I'm going to suggest that you watch my tutorials, take a piece of practice ribbon until you get it down pat. And once you learn to make this bow, you are going to absolutely love it. For your wreaths, for gift packages, for your Christmas tree. So many uses for this beautiful bow, especially for the holidays coming up. You'll be so happy when you learn to make it. It's so beautiful. Again, 3 loops on each side. Just going to cut my tails around 10 inches. I like to have my tails on this, especially on this particular wreath, because I'm placing my bow this time at 6 o'clock. So I love having my tails to cascade down from the bottom of the wreath. And this absolutely beautiful red and white buffalo check, another beautiful quality ribbon. Again, I believe I got that on craftoutlet.com. Now this time, this is the top tier of this beautiful bow. And I'm going to create my loops a little bit smaller. I want to say around 8 inches in length for each loop. And I'm just going to create 2 loops on each side, or 4 loops altogether. I keep a nice tight pinch in the middle to hold my loops together. I take a half of a pipe cleaner, wrap it around, secure those loops, and now I'm going to create one single loop right down the center of that bow. I'm going to take my pipe cleaner from the back, feed it through that single loop, bring it around the back, and give it a good twist. And this is the top tier that's going to go right on top of that bow. I snip my tails off to allow the same amount of length of tail as I initially cut, which was around 10 inches, maybe a little less for this top tier. And I feed that piece of ribbon, that tail, right through the center loop. Again, watch the videos. I do it slow and methodical and detailed, and explain the entire technique to you in those videos. Now we're going to take the bottom tier, open up the loops. I'm going to place that red one right on top of that. Now these tiers, you want to fold down your pipe cleaner, that or snip it off, either or, it doesn't matter. And we're going to press the centers of those loops together very, very firmly. I want a nice flush application, one on top of the other. Look how beautiful this bow is going to be. Oh my gosh, I love it. So I press my top tier on, matching up the centers. I put my hand right on the center of my tails. I want those tails divided before I put my pipe cleaner in. I take a full length pipe cleaner, wrap it around the back, keeping a nice tight, snug hold on all of those layers because I want it nice and flush. I twist that pipe cleaner in the back, and now I have all 3 layers adhered to one another. I give my bows, my loops a tug, open them up, and this is just a beautiful, beautiful bow. Now I'm going to be angling my tails. I usually do that once I have it on the wreath. Okay, now it's time for the sign and to start applying the bundles. Now I want the sign slightly toward the top of the wreath frame. But before I do that, before I apply that, I'm going to put on all of my bundles. Now I'm going to be using the second wire from the outside. The reason for this is I don't want my Deco mesh to cover up any of the wording on that sign. So I want to keep my Deco mesh application more toward the outside of the wreath frame. I'm not sure I mentioned it, but this is a 16-inch wreath frame. I believe I got this at Hobby Lobby, but they also have them at Dollar Tree. This is a little bit bigger wreath frame than I normally use, but that sign is of a size that I felt that I needed to use a wreath frame 2 inches bigger than the normal ones that I use. And again, you see me pulling those Deco mesh threads along the way, but for the most part, I do all of my defraying, there's that word again, at the end. Now, what I was saying about that sign is you want it slightly more toward the top of the wreath frame than exactly in the center. The reason why is I'm going to put my bow at the bottom, and again, I don't want my bow to cover up any of my words. Now, this is that Deco mesh. Now, notice how I pulled those threads from the top. Once you clear the Deco mesh at that point, you're not going to have any more fraying. So you'll notice on those pieces of your bundles that if you have any of those threads or those yeah, those Deco mesh threads, I guess you could call them, sitting at the very top of your Deco mesh. You could just pull those off. And then you'll have like the little kind of frayed ends, but that's okay because that's the type of Deco mesh this is. Okay, you're going to have that on this type of mesh if you use the scrunch method. I go around the back of the wreath and take care of all of those pipe cleaners that are poking up there. And as well, I just go ahead and create a loop out of a black pipe cleaner. I want to do that before I place all of my embellishments on the front. Now I put my bow on just by reaching through the Deco mesh, finding a wreath wire, and using the pipe cleaners on the back of the bow to adhere that to my wreath frame. Now I'm going to start placing my wine glasses on there. Now you may think this would make the wreath very heavy, but it actually really doesn't. Those wine glasses are pretty lightweight. It's possible you could find plastic wine glasses. I didn't bother with that. I just picked up a couple at Dollar Tree. I felt certain that I could get them to adhere. I once made a baseball wreath covered with real baseballs, and that was really heavy. So I wasn't worried about 2 wine glasses. I figured I could manage that. I have this absolutely beautiful bow on now. Now the placement of that tin sign, I just used hot glue. You could put some pipe cleaners on the back and place it on like that. But I found that the hot glue was quite sufficient. And this wreath isn't going to be outside much, so it'll be perfectly fine with hot glue. I'm going to be placing some ribbon bundles on that wreath. And I'm going to be using just the striped ribbon and the buffalo check. I'm going to cut my ribbons in 10-inch pieces. The first piece you'll see I cut there was 8 inches, and no, you want them 10 inches. I made a little mistake there, and you can see I'm checking myself, and I realized, no, 10 inches. So I went back and cut 10-inch pieces. Now I'm going to create 7 bundles, 3 for the sides, 1 for the top. And I mixed up my combinations. I believe I did 4 with the buffalo check on top and 3 with the buffalo check on the bottom. I just pinch it in the middle, take a half of a pipe cleaner, wrap it around, give it a twist, and then I dovetail the ends. And these ribbon bundles really add a lot to the wreath. Another option if you're making a wine-themed wreath is you could put wine corks, around the wreath. For this one, I didn't really want to do that, but I think if you use the grapes on a wine-themed wreath, I'm sorry, I can't speak, that would be a nice addition. In case you want other ideas, if you want to go with a wine-themed wreath. And there's the ribbon bundles, very pretty. Those you just wire right to the wreath frame. I put mine around my wreath before I actually attach them just to get a good placement. Now it's time to position those wine glasses. Now I liked mine angled. You want to be certain that you don't have your wine glasses too close to the edge of the wreath. You want to tuck them up where they're nestled down in the Deco mesh, not too far from the sign. I used E6000 to attach my wine glasses, and this worked like a charm. My wine glasses are not going anywhere on my wreath. They are very well adhered. I adhered them at the bottom, at the top of the stem, and a little bit at the top of the wine glass. I let it dry for quite a period of time before I moved the wreath, and they are solid on that wreath now. And as I said, I like to place my ribbon bundles around the wreath to see where I would like them. And I just reach my fingers down through the Deco mesh, find a wire, and twist it on. Now I'm going to arrange my ribbon bundles around the wreath, open them up, be sure everything's dovetailed. And this wreath is beautiful. Now you see the bottom there? I curl my tails toward the midline on each side, if that makes sense. I take each of my sets of tails and I turn them inward toward the middle of the wreath. I go around the wreath at this point and pull off all of my Deco mesh threads. And here you have it. This just turned out so beautiful. And I think this would just be so awesome if you're having a dinner party and you put this on the door to welcome your guests. I love it. Okay, don't forget to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if you like this wreath. And leave your comments. I love receiving them. Okay, until next time, Christmas decor coming up. You all take care.